And we're live, and John, your camera's kind of messed up. Let's see what's going on. Hey, Jam.
Gonzo says hi.
It's like, screw Gonzo. I don't like him no more. He doesn't come on.
Oh, he already left. He already walked off. I looked up and he wasn't there anymore, which is pretty much how things operate in our house. I look up and he doesn't stand still for long.
He doesn't. No, he doesn't. He would never. So, welcome to another episode of More Than Dice, episode 123, as Kathy has decided to say something about. She said that earlier in the pre-ramble. Today, we're going to talk about some of the new stuff that GW came out, and I also have some issues with certain things, because I actually got to go to the game store this week. And a subject got brought up, but we'll wait till the podcast to wait till the main issue to talk about that. But before we do, we want to thank all of our sponsors. We want to thank Metalhead Minis, Lynn. She's amazing. She's doing a lot of cool stuff right now, guys. We'll be sending you some links shortly with some items that you can purchase from us to help us out the podcast, give a little bit back to us, and make us upgrade stuff, because you can see we're kind of low budget here. We want to thank more than Muse on Minis for hosting our podcast and getting it out to everybody. We also want to thank Dan from Tectonic Craft Studios, because next week we will be giving away a few of his items on the show live. You will have to be here to see and do that. And Creature Caster. If you like really, really awesome models and some really good paints, go check out Creature Caster and tell them that More Than Dice sent you. But let's get everything going like we normally do. John, you're really big now. That's awesome.
I'm always really big.
Let's go ahead and go with what are we drinking today, John? Jim Beam Apple.
Beam Apple.
He is drinking some Jim Beam Apple.
Straight.
Just straight. We're not mixing that shit at all. No Dr. Pepper this time.
You would not put that in Dr. Pepper? What are you fucking crazy?
You mix everything with Dr. Pepper. What are you talking about?
Apple doesn't go
really
with
not
Dr.
true.
Pepper.
God, Gonzo.
Kathy?
Busy. I feel terrible for you. Look what you have to deal with.
She always knows that she has to deal with me. So other than that, gin and tonic.
Gin and tonic?
Yes, that's true.
And tea.
And tea.
Oh, tea is steeping.
Still steeping. Today I am trying, I've had this before, I'm just trying to finish out the last few bottles of it. This KBS Espresso beer by Founders. It's a good beer. We've already gone through that. Really, really, really coffee taste, but still good.
Let's combine two things I love so much. Coffee and beer.
Coffee and beer.
And by love, he means hate.
Thank you, Kathy. Not a fan of either.
For those that don't know.
Yeah.
So, to everybody out there listening, to people watching, to everybody doing everything that keep us on the air and keep us going, we appreciate it very, very much. Thank you. And it's kind of weird. Hope everybody's safe. Everybody's taking care of each other, looking out, and doing awesome things. If you can't go out, just play some video games. I'm playing Elder Scrolls Online. If anybody wants to join me on that one, I'll get you up there and do some really cool stuff. And also, John and I play MechWarrior Online. So jump in on that if you are interested. We don't have a problem. We'll play games with people. Cheers.
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 Okay, I'm going to go and switch over to the paint cam real quick so I can get over to my station. Oh, great. Station. And, of course, the camera is messed up. So let me fix the camera while we're talking. That's going to have to...
I mean, it looks fine. You're still upside down.
I am still upside down, but my main camera is not.
Oh, you mean there's supposed to be another camera?
There's supposed to be another
in the middle?
camera? That
Where
shows
the big
what I'm
box
doing.
rod is.
Kathy and my cameras have switched. Mine's doing the crazy big, small, big, small, big, small thing, and hers is normal.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that's all Gonzo's fault and has nothing to do with me or you.
Always. It's
I'm
always
willing
my
to go
fault.
with that.
Okay. Video capture device.
Da, 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 da,
There we go.
da,
And then I'll have to fix it, of course. Let's transform. Flip. And
Oh, I
flip.
boom!
Oh, wait.
Yay!
Wait.
I don't know what's going on.
We've had first camera, but what about
Second camera.
Captaincy?
I did. Oh, I needed to talk to him, and we can show it on air. Where's my other helmet? Oh, so I was printing off that Iron Man helmet and trying to get it done and whatever, and I had to print it. One of the things in two pieces, and it was the main helmet. And it's kind of going to be kind of hard to see, but you see this piece, I had to print separate, the bottom half of this, and then glue it on. But I had this big old mess up here, and I started working on it, and I was like, you know what? I don't like this. I'm not going to work it because I found out that there's actually supposed to be a groove that goes right along here, and then it's indented, and I was like, this is going to be too hard to get it out and sand it. So I reprinted it, and I reprinted it all in one piece. So I'm going to have to, it's still going to do sanding and stuff, but I refixed it, and now all I got to do is sand this part. And this is very, very smooth compared to everything else that I had to do. So that's going to be one of my projects this week, is sanding all of my Iron Man helmet pieces. And I'm going to build the spots for the Iron Man mask to magnet on, because I know that we were talking about that. So I'm going to build a couple of things in AutoCAD so I can just go click, or I will probably just put magnets up in this spot right here.
I think magnets will just make it look magic. It'll be magic that way.
Magic, yeah.
Because, anybody who's not really into our hobby isn't usually about magnets for everything.
I mean, how do they work?
How do they work? But
Magic.
I'm going to put
It's
two magnets
magic.
here and two magnets here. And then, of course, the magnets here. And go click. And hopefully it'll hold. I may have to put a magnet on the sides and such. But then I'll be able to do the jaw piece and all that stuff. But I made it where it was easier for me to sand. The last problem took me about 3 days to print out. So hopefully we'll have some decent weather this week. I doubt we will. And I will be able to just sit on the back porch with the dogs and let them be a bum and sit outside with some sanding
Sit
paper.
on the back porch with the dogs. That actually sounds delightful.
So,
Sounds cliched, but definitely delightful.
so
Uh,
I'm almost done sanding all of this and getting this the way I want. It is almost there. There's a few spots I need to get a little bit more of the Ultra of Guyver butt done and the Guyver arm. Just a little. Just
there's
a
your
little
time, and for everyone who had 11 minutes into the podcast, Guyver, but you win.
So I just got a little bit of spots I just needed to clean up a little bit more, but overall it should be pretty ready for some Prime. And we'll
Have
get
you
that.
ever considered the merits of wood carving tools?
When I can find and get some, sure.
Because they're
He
fantastic.
doesn't know a sculpting tool.
for-
You're going fucking crazy.
Well, I mean, you can get it like $7 for a big pack of a bunch of different shapes of wood carving tools, and they're fantastic for carving mold lines and stuff on plastic and resin and metal.
Absolutely. I just
And
You're talking to me. I'm always doing everything the hard way.
He's got a 3D printer or two, but he doesn't have a sculpting tool.
They're slightly less dangerous
this.
than hobby knives.
I mean,
Well, this is just a file.
I know, and it pains me to see you using it that
Nope.
way.
To file off.
I've turned off my pain centers to that. I'm no longer crying on the inside.
But I mean, for the most part, everything's pretty solid. I mean, I just need to do some cleanup around it and just kind of smooth a few things out, and then he'll be ready for some prime. I do need to get my
Legionnaire
glasses.
says the Weather Channel says we're entering monsoon season. We started it last week here in Chicago. We got about 8 inches of rain in 4 days. So, yeah.
Monsoon season was April. I mean, we had rain most of the days in April. So, for Arkansas, yeah. I mean, heck, may you guys not get drowned. There were some south of us in Virginia that was really bad. And a couple people were telling me how their family had houses there and they couldn't go anywhere because the roads were all flooded. I mean, luckily, we really can't go anywhere on the East Coast much anyways up here.
So,
No,
the
Virginia, not pretty much on lockdown.
The basement of the Sears Tower, also known as the Willis Tower, filled with water,
Sears Tower. Oh shit!
completely flooded, and so the entire thing lost power, and that's where all of the TV transmitter antennas are, and so there was a whole bunch of, and I don't have cable TV, I have antenna TV, and so I didn't have a lot of channels for about 4 days this week, including my PBS channels and my retro TV channel that I watch Doctor Who on. So I watched a lot more Twitch this week, and we watched old episodes of Catfile on Amazon Prime.
Cool. When that stuff happens, I usually end up watching a lot of. I'll go straight to DVDs and all, which is why I still buy DVDs. Plus, I can loan them out. I like loaning out DVDs. People are like, "I've never seen that." Like, here, would you like to borrow it?
That means I have to get up and go do the DVD thing, and then fire up the Blu-ray player, and it's so much work.
I mean, yes, but at least you don't have to put the VHS tape in the VHS player and then untangle the
Rewind.
corded remote to the VHS.
The corded
Corded remote controls.
I remember.
Oh my
that,
god.
yeah.
Oh.
So I mean, we've still got it good.
So I was able to get a new pair of
Oh.
clippers, and I found these at Walmart, and they work just damn fine.
Perfect.
So I'm gonna finish putting together this matol. What do I do with it? And everything. So
You know what? Oh, you should be painting your bust right now.
I can't because it's airbrush. I'm gonna do it on
I
with airbrush.
can't. Airbrush. Are you waiting until the Guyver is ready to airbrush?
No.
Just gonna airbrush them at the same time.
No, I did figure out color palettes on her because her skin is kind of an orangey color, and so I've got to get a decent orangey color. And I think that this like Fire Lizard by Army Painter is probably going to be the color that I'm looking for. That's for her skin. So
Probably a little too orange, probably a little more in the brown area.
well, I mean, for right now, I don't know what it looks like on screen, but this is actually, hopefully once it's all shaken up and it's all good and mixed, I'm going to put some out and then let it dry and see if it actually is the color orange that I'm thinking. If not, it'll be, I may have to lighten it up with a little bit of yellow.
From here, it looks like the old GW Vomit Brown.
Vomit brown.
I think it's probably a little more orange than that.
Yeah.
But brown would be a good color for it, actually. I miss vomit brown.
It was a great color.
It is.
But it did have that sort of oranginess to it, and I gravitate towards those browns that have a little bit more orange or red in them, like scorched earth, scorched brown, nice dark reddish brown. That was that had to
It's
have
called
been.
Brian Oxide now.
Is it? Thank you. Now I just make my own damn brown out of
Well, you're wild and crazy like that, Kathy.
red, green, and magenta. Give me a nice scorched
You're a
brown.
professional. The rest of us are like, hey, not
No,
gonna
you
fuck
know
with
what
that. Can't be a model.
I discovered something about myself on Tuesday when I decided I was going to try and use some pro acryls on this this Nurgly Ogre model that I was telling you about. And I put these colors out on my palette, and I didn't know what to do with them. I was like, I need to mix these. No, not mix. Wait, mix? Not mix? I'm like, I don't understand what's happening. My brain just like shut down. And then I put some Reaper clears out on my palette and recovered some semblance of my my color processing, and realized that apparently I can only mix colors and not use colors just out of jars, and that's really weird to me.
I mean, pretty weird to me too. I'm not gonna lie.
I thought I could just use some of these pro acryls like I've seen other people doing, and I'm like, my brain apparently has been programmed
Your
to
brain's
no
like,
longer
no.
work that way.
Like
I don't mind mix and stuff. I do it once in a while, but only on one-off models. If I'm painting like an army or something, I will attempt not to mix anything if I can help it.
Yeah.
Because I know I will never ever make that color again.
I mean, to be fair, I would probably do that too. I would probably have to sort of train myself to do that same thing.
Like if I'm
I
doing
didn't
like
think it was going to be that hard.
well, if you're changing the whole way you're doing everything, it's always hard. You know,
Yeah.
you get stuck in your ways. We're creatures of habit.
You know, and more power to the people who are not filthy color mixers, who have their, you know, their recipes and their triads and all the things that work for them so that they can get their flesh tone the way they want it, and they can get their armor the way they want it and everything. I mean, there's certainly nothing wrong with that. I just apparently can't do that anymore. I literally do not know how.
I just mess around until it looks right. If it looks a little off, I just back up and punt, throw some more stuff on there, see if I can make it look right.
That's my approach to mixing colors.
Yeah, I just do it on the model. Like, oh, that skin tone's a little off. What does it need? Let's do a little of that. Oh, now it's a little this way off. All right, well, fuck it. Hit it with a wash. That help a little bit. And sometimes you get like Winter Soldier. I put the wash on, and I'm like, wow, it went right into the crevices like it's supposed to, and didn't hit the high parts. I'm like his arm muscle definition. I'm like, this is fucking perfect. I ain't touching that.
Like, did this guy just paint himself for me? Thank you.
I mean, considering how tough some of those parts were, I cannot tell you. I was doing his mask with a little red eye on his goggles, and I kept picking it up, and I'm like, oh, I made that exact noise, actually.
I'm certain you did, yes. No, there's so many times I've had to paint eyes and tiny shit like that, 10 times. I paint it, one looks perfect, and the other one is totally shit, and then I go and paint that one, and that one looks better than the other one, so I have to repaint the other one, and then I make some mistake, and I have to end up repainting both of them, and then repeat that like 3 times.
And that's why I don't paint eyes. So I did the solid color for his goggle things.
Sometimes you have to.
No, sometimes you have to. I never have to. Though I probably will, like on the dwarf. He's got big eyes. I might give it a shot.
Yeah. Well, he's a larger scale model, and you have to at least attempt to at least put a black dot in there with some white.
There he is next to my head. He's a big boy.
You can do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, should be able to.
Just expect that it's going to take you maybe 10 tries, and if it takes less, then yay.
Well, you see, Kathy, I get to cheat. If it they're a little bit off and someone says something, I'm like, what? They look fine to me. And then I win.
From now on, I'll just be like, I'm just painting the eyes like my friend John.
There you go. Works.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not gonna lie, it's fun to see people at work get uncomfortable when I make jokes like that. Like, you're uncomfortable, not me. That's your problem, and I'm the one who's fucked up. Shit. Don't we have a topic? I could ramble forever.
We do have a topic. Yesterday, GW had a big announcement. And the new announcement is there's a new set of rules coming out for 40K. I think we're on 9th edition. Yeah, someone made a joke that it was actually 10th edition because they didn't count something else, but so on and so forth.
Well, I mean, no, really, that was 3.5 was 3.5. It wasn't a full edition change, just a bunch of White Dwarf magazines that updated rules and all. You could have made a whole edition out of it, but they were trying to be nice back then.
Yeah. I did find it interesting, and the reason why I was like, oh, we can talk about this, because I got to go to my local game store this Thursday just to hang out for a little bit, talk with the store owner, go over a few things. He's wanting to do like a War Machine and Horde League thing for some of our new players, and they started talking about 40K, and the topic came up because one of the guys said that GW's got a good solid set of rules, and they don't change rules a lot, and everything's pretty there. And I was like, is he high? Is he really, really high? And
is he inexperienced? Is he new?
He is kind of new, but he's not new to the game. He's new to the game, but he's not new to the world of GW. So it was just kind of interesting because while we were there, we were talking about 40K and certain things, and a subject came up out of one player that plays it just to troll people, and I was like, oh, that's not good. And then we came up with another comment about the rules, and I was like, well, don't they have an announcement tomorrow about something big? And they were like, yeah, and we really didn't know what it was, but they were thinking they were just going to show some cool models and maybe something new for somebody. But the subject came out about that they have a really good rule set and it's really solid and blah blah blah, and I'm like, no, I don't think so. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, let's define that, and that's an important distinction.
Yeah.
Solid is a very vague term. Do they do what GW wants them to do? Yes. They do pretty much what GW wants them to do. So, in that state, sure, they are solid.
Well, if you really think about it, tournament-wise, GW doesn't do anything with that.
No, because it's not their thing. They don't want to.
No.
They don't care.
They don't. And that's what I was like kind of thinking about it, because, I mean, if you really think about it, GW just releases models with rules. They don't care about the tournaments. Or they don't. I wouldn't say they don't care about the tournaments. They don't.
No, they don't care about the tournaments. That's
tournaments are not their focus.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of people play the game in mind when they play it. Which I thought was interesting is during the thing, they were talking about all new narrative play with the stuff. And I was like, okay, that's cool. But who's going to play the narrative stuff?
Well, let's put that there. Let's state this categorically. Tournament way is not the only way to play.
We understand
that. True.
I think if there is one bad thing that War Machine and Hordes did for the gaming community and mainstream community is make everyone think that every game has to be like a tournament game, because that's not fucking true.
Correct. That's the reason why I was saying they had, new rules for, narrative play. And I was like, okay, cool. I like that.
I think it's fantastic. It's so much more interesting to me as somebody who doesn't play tournaments to have that option, or as people I know who do play tournaments, but we're just at the game store and we want to get a game in, or we just want to meet up every Wednesday for a month and play some narrative stuff that has nothing to do with tournament, and they're not practicing their tournament list, it's very cool to have an option that doesn't make you feel like you should be practicing your tournament list.
Now that goes with saying
Exactly.
is I get it. I like narrative play. I like that's the reason why I like Necromunda so much, because it was cool. The things I do now affect the things I'm going to do later. Okay, cool. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
A little narrative play, to me is awesome. And then I got to thinking, I was like, but who's going to play that? If you have a store that's predominantly going to be playing, tournament stuff.
Rogue Wolf just says, I play narrative way all the time. I'm not a fan of the tournament play due to a good percentage of the tournament players can be a pain and over competitive, and that's his opinion. And I'm inclined to agree with that on occasion. I mean, there's nothing wrong with playing tournaments. So many people have a good time with it, and that's the reason why they get an army. And yeah, they are competitive, but it's nice that there's also room for those of us who don't want, that I am playing in a tournament. I am crafting my army only for tournaments, and the only games I'm going to play that aren't tournament games are practice games with my tournament list.
And let me say something, that those guys, the core rules aren't for those fucking guys. Those guys will find whatever tournament game they want, and they'll play it, and they'll have their fun, which is awesome. But the GW rules aren't for those guys. Those are for the average guy in their basement. Who's going to play that way, Gonzo? It's the average guy in their basement. The guy who just has a couple friends come over and they play. The silent majority who just buys the models and does their thing and doesn't go to the game store and play, because those guys are assholes, because tournament players have been known to be a bit much at times. And when the casual guys show up, they get a bad game in and suddenly they don't want to play anymore. And I'm generalizing, of course.
Also, hashtag not all tournament players, because I know that also is a broad generalization and not totally.
Let's state, when we say everyone, we don't mean everyone. We're just saying this has happened in the past and has affected people's views of things. So everyone likes to generalize. So the average guy in the basement will play narrative play. Shit, I could get some people to play narrative play. In fact, that's most of our games we want to try and push towards campaigns, because that becomes like a giant narrative play. Like, I want to take this position for this. I mean, I had the whole cities of that, or that whole hex thing. Remember those little hexes and all that you put together to make a map?
Yeah.
We painted all of those.
Yeah.
I forget what it's called. I gave it all to a buddy because he was using it. He's like, I don't have the 40K one. I'm like, well, here you go. I don't have room for it anymore. And we had a great time with that and all. And we'd take spots for getting bonuses and all. It was a great time. And I think I'm really upset they don't still have that, because you could do some fun with that. It could be used for so many game systems and all. It's just a hoot. I mean, it pushed people towards a play style that isn't around as much anymore. I love a narrative, even if it's narrative campaigns as simple as the whole sort of ladder campaign where you win or you lose, and then you go to the next one, and you win or you lose, and eventually, one side can't get more than an okay victory or a minor defeat because you've lost so many games. But it's cool to have an effect on when it happens, and then you have to have applying that to the next game.
Jim and a friend of his who they used to always play all the time, and they just made their own scenarios, and all these scenarios told the story of this whole campaign, and each time there were certain objectives to get, and if you got this objective, then you acquired this, it could have been some kind of drugs that enhance, some ability, or some weapons that you'll get to use in the next scenario and stuff, and that was a lot of fun. That was an amazing little, you don't need to, you can craft your own narrative, but I know
we would play games in Necromunda, and the guys would go ahead.
That's the thing I liked about Blood Bowl. Mm-hmm. is the people I played with, we always played in a league. And you amassed star player points by doing things like making touchdowns or causing casualties or completing a pass. And you accumulate so many star player points, you get a skill. So now this guy has a skill, and you can build your guys up over the course of the season. And it's interesting, and it's fun to see what everybody else's teams are doing. And I always found that to be so much more interesting than just, playing a standalone game of Blood Bowl.
Mm-hmm. We don't play standalone games of Blood Bowl. We would play a league or not at all.
Yeah.
It's not. It's fine, but it's so much better in a league. I feel like it is made for league play.
Yeah.
But when we did Necromunda, when I ran Necromunda, they would come to us and like, "Hey, John, we want to play something cool. Make us some special scenario." And I would like make a special scenario, either get a third player in or be like, "Okay, the Necromunda board's in use. You guys got to use different terrain tables, so you're out in the ash waste scavenging stuff, and you can go to a piece of terrain. Someone can spend their action to scavenge for stuff, and you roll some dice and see if you got something cool. And if you get away with it, you get away with it." That's why we ended up with Jason had one of his Eschers was Daisy and her cutter, which he scavenged an assault cannon off of a crashed Imperial fighter, and there was an assault cannon in Necromunda, and that thing was horrifying.
Oh yeah, it is.
I mean, but it was super fun. Everyone was like, "Oh, he's got Daisy out! Oh shit, run!" It's super cool, and I actually feel like something like Kill Team could be like that if you put a little more work into it yourself. I mean, it's easy to fall back on, well, the rules say. You're absolutely right. The rules say.
But we all know.
But if you guys agree, you can take that rule and just, here's the rules. If you guys don't like them, fuck them.
House rule
the visual
that
helped
shit.
a little bit.
Just
Exactly.
house rule that shit.
Yeah. I mean, we're playing each other. Whatever we decide goes.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, if we don't like the way a rule works, we can house rule it. I mean, house rules existed for a reason. You have to be careful that when you're playing, in the store or something like that, you don't try and use house rules because people don't know those.
Mm-hmm.
You want to discuss as part of what we like to call the gamer social contract is explaining things there. The rule of cool rules all. Yes. Rule of cool, absolutely. I go with that in role playing all the time. The rule, does this work? I'm like, that's awesome. Yeah, that works. I mean, I don't care. I mean, we're all supposed to be having a good time, right? We're collaboratively trying to have a great time.
Points for humor.
So,
Points for humor.
You should be doing what you can for that.
So, but I thought that was interesting that they said there's going to be more narrative play, which I'm like, cool. I like narrative play over straight competitive play, especially with 40K, because it's just kind of the game to me that I think it leans to narrative play a lot, in my opinion.
Yep.
And then also new rule set, where flyers are going to be better and tanks are going to be better and new models, and something I thought was interesting because I'm looking to go ahead and get rid of like my Tau and my Grey Knights because I'm not really into them. And I was like, what am I going to play? I'm like, oh, well, maybe Necrons. I haven't played Necrons, and they got some really cool looking vehicles and models and all this other stuff. And
I have always wanted to paint some Necrons. I have these ideas.
Talk to Baney, both of you, because he's got Necrons he may not use.
I have
He's
old
like
Necrons that I got from somebody at Vince
metal
Bazaar.
Necron.
There's
Oh,
some
the old metal?
yeah.
Yeah, they're awesome
There's
old
some
metal
metal there. Some plastics. Old.
Back when
The models look cool. I was particularly impressed with the new Space Marine bikes. Those are legit as shit. Because those things haven't been changed in a long, long time.
I have not seen. Let me just go look. I'm gonna go find the thing.
Then there's the new. The funny joke is this is a new Space Marine character. I forget what they call him, and they're like, "Does he have a COVID mask on?" I'm like, "Oh, come on, guy." But I'm not gonna lie, he kind of does.
Like, was he just kidding or?
No.
I did like the way the look of some of the
like,
new.
They painted it like leather and covered the bottom part of his face. So I mean, I'm trying to find pictures for you, but all the new stuff looks cool. I mean, Primaris Space Marines look cool anyways if you like Space Marines at all, and they've got new close combat ones that look cool. The Necrons all look freaking awesome.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. When I was like, I chose when I was like, oh, I'll probably do. I might do Necrons because I'm just gonna sell my Tau and sell all my other stuff. And I'm like, I'll probably pick up Necrons. I got a cool little. I mean, one, you could really cheat and paint those guys up super quick with just some good old dry brushing, or
sure.
you could do some other stuff and do some really cool stuff. And I'm like, oh well, you could probably do the color
Non-metallic
shift,
patinaed copper.
or you could do, like I said, you could do the whatchamacallit, the color shift paints on that, on the armor pieces, and then go back, go the robot, the exposed mechanical parts, and just paint that black and metal inside of that, and be really really cool. So I mean, you got some really cool stuff that you could do there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Legionnaire says the new guy is a Justicar. He's got a giant cricket bat, and he is ready to mess some people up.
Yes.
Did you see him,
Oh
Kathy?
yeah, I've been seeing the Justicar. Yeah, that one looks really cool.
He's got. I mean, it does look like he kind of has a mask on. It's. Given the times we're in, it's actually kind of funny.
I do like the bike. Yeah, I was looking all over mine.
Yeah, the bikes. Yike, those bikes are legit, huh?
If you haven't seen everything, guys, there's plenty of, you can go out there, just go to GW, and you can see all the models. I don't need to bring them up and put them up on the screen because, I mean, they're easily accessible.
I did get to see some people complaining about the logo, and I'm like, seriously? They're like, but the A isn't centered. I'm like,
What?
this is what you want to complain about, that the A isn't centered, and never mind that each letter in a font is not exactly the same size as every other letter, and there's kerning, and there's all these other things to do with, putting together words and graphic and everything. But I'm not the one who's going to comment on somebody else's internet rant. I know. I've learned my lesson.
Yeah, I mean, I would say if you don't like the new logo for the new Warhammer 40K, just fucking deal with it.
Get over yourself. It's just
Yeah,
a logo.
really. They've changed it a bunch of times. There's a meme of show me the 40K logo. No, show me the real one. And he said, I said the real one. And they go back and show you like second edition. So
Yeah.
it's pretty funny.
There's always somebody who's complaining about just the most inane thing.
It was kind of ridiculous. I mean, I guess this. I did like that they said that they were not going to be redoing codexes, which is good because a lot of people just bought a lot of those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's actually a mistake. Because the problem is that the core problem that actually makes me upset with the new edition, because the core problem is the codexes in some of them. This command point thing is completely and totally out of fucking control.
Oh, they're giving you more
apparently
command
their
points.
balancing factor is going to be, we're just going to give everyone more command points based off the same thing. And that's not going to fix it. The
Yeah, I
problem
thought
is
it was
command points are
interesting.
not equal when you spend one. It does not equal one command point for everyone's army. And
It never
see.
has, though. Points have always been weird that way.
No,
Well,
this
this
is even worse. This is a secondary thing, Kathy. It's called command points, and you use them to get bonuses during the game. And a lot of people would min-max their armies to have the most possible, because you get them based on formations you run, detachments basically.
Hey, string of numbers. Welcome to the podcast.
They would min-max their army to get the most, and they would put people in to make sure they get a chance to get command points back. They would try to cycle command points. They turned it into a thing when it should not be a thing. And while I think that the way Age of Sigmar handles them is better, it's too far the not that impressive way. And I'd like something in the middle, but it looks like they're not going for that, which now makes me a little sad.
Yeah,
It is,
I thought it was
in
interesting they
my
were going to give
opinion,
more
the
command
largest
points.
problem left in their game.
I thought it was interesting they were going to do more command points. I'm like, were they already out of whack to begin with?
Nope. Yeah, they're already potentially busted as fuck.
Yeah, because some of them are. Cause I know, like, some of the Tau ones were holy crap. And I was like, because they were like, you can do what? I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And they're like, that's busted. And I'm like, well, I can do it 3 times because of my command points.
Legionnaire says, I just buy GW stuff to paint anyway. See, that's kind of where I'm at right now, too.
I like to
Like,
pretend I can play
I've had
once in a while.
fun playing 40K in the past and Fantasy. I still haven't played Age of Sigmar. I like Warcry. That's one I can play on my kitchen table with my husband. So that's cool. But yeah, I don't get to the game store, so I don't get to play my other games. So I'm just in it to paint stuff too. I wouldn't mind getting a few Necron characters or whatever to paint up. I think it'd be fun.
How about if I just give you all my Necron stuff and you can paint it up for me, Kathy? No comment.
I think it's nice.
So, but I mean, I
Wait,
like.
Did you just say you're giving me all your Necron stuff to paint?
Yeah, you can give me all. I'll give you all my Necron stuff, and you can paint it up and just send it back to me. How about that?
It might get lost in the mail.
I did like that they are doing their own app now. That I thought was a good thing. If they can implement it correctly, which I'm guessing they should. I don't know how. You can really. I don't think GW would mess up a army building app.
I mean, they've got Azure for Age of Sigmar, and it's really good.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that's going to be good. I think that's something that's been needed and wanted for a long time, because like one of the big issues, and I'm going to go back to a little bit of tournament play, is that people have been disqualified because they built their list wrong. But they built their list wrong based on what they had. Not that they built it wrong on purpose. It's that they're like, oh, I have this book. This book has all the rules for my army. I built it. Yay, my points are good. So on and so forth. They go to turn it in. They do it. And then they check the list after. And they're like, no, you're disqualified because your list is wrong. And you're like, but I built it, per the thing. They're like, well, there was an update. And I'm like,
well, okay. Let's full stop that. It's a tournament. I have no mercy for those guys. If you're going to play in a tournament, you're going to play, quote unquote, for reals. You should be looking into that. We've had people come to Warmachine and Hordes tournaments, and they were playing Gaspy 2 with his original rules, not his whatever revision they were on. And we're like, no, dude, that doesn't work like that at all.
Not anymore, yeah. But I mean, it was a lot easier to do. It's a lot easier to mess up in 40K than it would be in Warmachine and Hordes. So I mean,
obviously, just as easy. I mean, not everyone back in then, not everyone used War Room. That's sort of why they pushed it to it.
Yeah.
So we can go on a whole round of this, and the problem I have with that is now you're buying a rule book and potentially an app. Now they make it like Azure. Azure is 99 cents a month, and I haven't played Sigmar in like 5 months, and they're still getting 99 cents a month out of it because it's a good deal, and I'm going to give money to produce a good product that is helpful.
Yeah, like I said, and that's a good thing. I guess I don't think they're going to mess it up. I'm sorry, I'm cleaning up my desk a bit. I think that's something that's needed for the 40K community, and I think that's something that is going to help out with people going to tournaments or building lists. So like, oh, GW has the hot newness loaded up, so I don't have to worry about if I'm wrong or not. If they do, which I figure they would. Which is something that really needs to happen. I hope.
I think it's actually more useful for the casual player. If you're a serious player, if you're going to a tournament, you should have knowledge of that stuff. I mean,
Well, no, I'm not about just army building. Period. Because you could mess up on your points without even knowing about it.
Oh, well, we've had that happen at the store. We're like, oh, with that change, it's this many points. We're like, don't worry about it, dude. We're playing. It's okay.
Yeah. But there's been
rule. Like you didn't know, you're not doing maliciously. It's a mistake. It's okay.
Yeah, well, but like it says, there's been tournaments, big tournaments, like at Adepticon, where people have been disqualified because they built their list wrong, and they built it wrong based on they were building it from a previous book, or they didn't get the new book. And I felt bad for the guy because, I mean, he may or may not, but he's disqualified because of that.
For something like Adepticon, they are always reminding people to constantly check the rules for updates, and they have rules packets that are available to download so that you can keep track of everything that's going on that you will be expected to know in a tournament,
Yeah.
including whatever the newest updates and FAQs and everything are. And as a tournament player, you got to do your homework.
Yes. But there has been issues, is what I'm saying. I'm just saying from previous experience and previous things, there has been people that have messed up and purely on accident, not purposely cheating. And the app,
Oh, right.
I believe, should help that issue out.
Yes, agree.
Yeah. The app should help with that. And I put quote around problem. So hopefully they do it right, which I think is going to be good.
So that'll
Yeah,
be-
but I agree with the sentiment, if not the let's say example you made.
I mean, yeah, it's sad if you get disqualified going to a tournament, but at the same time, if you're going to a tournament, you definitely need to be aware that you need to do some homework.
And the bigger the tournament, the sadder it is when it happens, but the less actual pity I have at that point.
Well,
Not you catch Bill Belichick going to a Super Bowl and not knowing the rules to football. He kind of has them all pretty much in order. He knows everything. That's just saying.
What time is it? Are we doing good on time? Yeah, we're doing good on time. We'll make sure we didn't.
Yeah, we're
But I mean, I was interested. Like I said, I don't want to play my Tau anymore. I'm definitely going to be getting rid of it and my Grey Knights because I was just like, just not having fun with it. And Grey Knights are supposedly the new overpowered hotness, so I may be able to get some decent money
Really?
out of that. Yeah, they're considered the one of the top armies right now. Their codex just came out, and they're pretty powerful. And all Grey Knight stuff is sold out, so I'm going to try to get rid of that and use that to fund my new hobby of Necrons. And stuff like that.
No loyalty.
No, I have no loyalty. I just like to play when it looks cool or sounds cool. I don't like playing my Tau because a lot of people complain about it, and I know I shouldn't worry about it, but I'm also one of those people who's like, if you're not having a good time and you hate it.
Realize when you play Necrons, people are going to whine and bitch and moan about your Necrons too.
Oh, they don't whine and bitch as bad as they do with Tau,
they're
though.
going to complain about that too.
Yeah, they'll complain.
Who cares? If they want to bitch about your army, they're going to want to bitch about their army. And honestly, let me say this, everyone out there, fuck them. You're playing by the rules in the game. If they don't like it, it's a game. There are rules. We have to play by them.
But you know me, I'm a nice guy. And I just want to do everything. But I thought the Necrons... I like some of the stuff the Necrons have. I like the vehicles. I like the planes. I like a lot of stuff about the Necrons. I like some of the basic rules. I know they're going to be changing some stuff.
I like that they're robot skeletons.
Yep. I do have one complaint about the new models, is I don't like the nose hole on the faces. The new Necrons have holes where their nose are supposed to be, and I'm like, oh, that's just going to get a little bit of putty. And I don't like that. I like just a full face.
They're skeletons in space. Skeletons have a hole there.
No.
They're space skeletons.
They don't have to be space skeletons. They don't need holes. They're robots. They don't need a hole for their nose. They're robots.
It's an aesthetic.
Dude, the more human they look, the scarier they actually are.
I did like some of the new stuff. I don't know if you've seen some of the new stuff, the walkers and the new large models that they have coming out. They look really cool. They've got one that looks like one of the War of the Worlds models.
Yeah.
Really long legs. I thought that was kind of cool looking. I thought that was neat. I thought it just looked really interesting to begin with. So I was like, I could do that. I already talked to a friend of mine, and we're gonna split some of the box sets. So he wants the Space Marines, and I want the Necrons. So we'll split it up.
Yeah, Crimson brings up a good point about this. Is I don't think you can avoid people complaining about your army, no matter what you play. One of the reasons I stepped back from Routine Horde is because I was playing Khador, and people would constantly complain about being overpowered easy mode. Meanwhile, Crix was winning all the tournaments, and Khador had about a 40% win rate at the WTC. It's fair. You don't need to worry about what people are complaining about your army. It's an army. You play it because you like it, and who cares?
I agree with him. I'm not saying I don't. It was becoming. I was getting more and more annoyed with it as it was going on. And they were like, "Oh, yeah, you're just gonna sit there with all the drones." Fuck yeah, I'm gonna sit there with all the drones because that's how I survive and that's how I win.
Yeah, because that's the rules in my book. You're gonna sit there with your
Yeah.
Space Marines. You're let's save. Go fuck yourself. Jesus
You're
Christ.
hardly gonna take the least optimal build.
What? I'm just supposed to take the build where my army gets wiped out every second, right?
Yes. You're supposed to allow me to march my guys right up to you so that I can smack down on your weak asses. Not shoot me down before I get there.
What? That's not
Also,
fair.
I am not responsible for coming up with a list that can counter you.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that could be said there. I'm gonna leave them alone right now because I'm in a mood.
You're always in a mood. What are you talking about?
No, I'm really in a mood. Like, the buttons I have are being pressed.
But I did like some of this stuff. I do like some of the rules
Oh,
that
yeah.
I'm hearing. I haven't heard all the rules. I don't know all the rules changes that are even coming out. I think there was a leak. I don't want to say it's a leak. I'm sure GW is like, hey, here, have this, and put it on some website and get some stuff about what's going on. And I was like, okay. I thought it was weird because I haven't played 40K in a bit. But tanks, when they're in melee, they can't shoot. And so, like, you could run a grot up to a tank, and the tank is just kind of stuck. And I'm like, what? It's a tank. That tank should just be running
the
that
tank-
fucker over and shooting
so-
like crazy.
You can disengage, but you can't just stay there. You have to disengage, but you can't shoot that turn.
Yeah. So, but I
in
guess
a game of that has melee and range, you need to have some balancing, and that's what it is. If that Lehman Russ with all the guns is fucking you up, go fight it in melee.
well, I guess they're gonna change it where it can shoot in melee. So,
Which is fine as long as the points are adjusted appropriately. To be honest, I was positively thinking about this, and then you let fly the little news about no new codexes, and I'm no longer positive anymore. It's going to be... I mean, so let's say this now. I'm not positive about it, but the edition as it stands right now is very playable. So even minor changes on that will just make it more playable. I just don't think it'll be what it could be.
I'm curious. I want to see what it is. I like the Necron models. I'll pick them up for my friend and buy his out of his box set and maybe continue to play some more. But I'll tell you this much. I don't remember who said it in the chat, but it was like, I like the models and I'll paint the models and play with the models or whatever. And I'm like, you know what? I think that's where I'm going to go with this.
Yeah.
I'll play it,
If you can play, you can play. If not, fuck it.
So I'll have to wait and see. But of course, Necrons will have a new codex and blah 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 blah. So I'll have to wait and see. But I did find it interesting that my local was talking about we've got like 4 or 5, and I want to say new but new-ish War Machine and Horde players, and they want to play, and I'm like, cool, but they don't want to play against like the hardcore tournament stuff, and I get that, and that's what kind of where we going back into full circle with the narrative play, and I'm like, well, just forgot a narrative scenario and stuff. You could use a program like, okay, this week or for the next 2 weeks, you're going to use this scenario with this terrain setup. That way you can learn how things work.
It's not the same though. It's
Well,
not the same.
these are guys that are learning the game.
The scenarios for War Machine of Hordes are so arbitrary, and for a lot of games, don't get me wrong, a lot of the games, the scenarios are very arbitrary, and the guys who want narrative play, it sort of breaks their immersion in the game.
Well, these guys aren't
they're
wanting
so
narrative play.
arbitrary. So you have to sort of try and.
These are just guys.
You have to try and work it in. Go ahead.
I was saying these guys don't want narrative play. They want to learn to play the game one. They just want to play the game. Now, if they want to do a narrative, I mean,
Then they should. Then they need to get a different game than War Machine of Hordes. You can't just play War Machine of Hordes. You can play tournaments or go somewhere else because it's not the game for that. I mean, I hate to be so blunt, but it's really kind of the way it is.
It is, and it's
And
sad,
so
but
Privateer Press goes and does something with it, and I feel like they have to. It has to be on their design thing. It's probably just hard to design for that game. It's so well done competitively. It's so set for competitive. It's hard to make something like that. Hopefully, they get something done because I would love them and play that all hardcore competitive and have cool narrative play. But the game is not made for that. The game was made, I feel like, to be competitive from the ground up, and I think the wargaming, miniature gaming meta has changed. That competitive is no longer what everyone wants, and that's part of why we're seeing things swing away from War Machine of Hordes.
that's the reason why you're getting games like Marvel.
Marvel, because all strong scenario play, even kind of thematic scenario play. Oh, one of these guys running around is actually a scroll. You need to grab him and get out of here. Check this guy. Nope, he's a scroll. It's really kind of cool, It's both thematic and a cool scenario thing at the same. It's not perfect, but it's one of the better ones.
We're going to have to do a podcast on games that are not, and we're putting quotes around it, non-tournament style games that are cool for that type of stuff, because I think that would be an interesting one, and come up with a list and figure out pros and cons of ways we can do that, because I think that would be interesting, because a lot of games are moving towards that. Smaller model counts, and we probably need to coin a new term for non-tournament play or whatever, and not just casual play, because it's not just casual play. There's different things.
So here's the thing: there really are only, there are three types of play. Let's say there's narrative play, visual play, and there's tournament play. You have to fall in one of those three. Really, there's not a fourth type. It's as much as we want there to be. We want there's a fourth type that's like between casual and tournament. That's not a style of play that you can force upon people. That's a style of play that people agree to.
Yeah. All right. It is
but
pretty
that's
much
probably a.
Okay. So I don't get to see the chat while I'm sitting here, so I was looking at stuff. Yes, I just saw something. Banyan, yeah, I did see the Titan. Everything I've seen about the new Necron stuff looks really freaking cool. So I'm kind of happy about it. So I'm going to see how that is. I'm going to turn this on and see what happens when I turn this on. For y'all that are new, is now media section. Not be a jerk, inconceivable. These lights aren't bright enough. I want to get a new set of lights. So, media section. I have a total of, I think, 3 things.
I mean, how you're lucky I got one in. I haven't played too much MechWarrior Online.
Big surprise, right?
And I would have rather been playing MechWarrior Online than actually watch this movie again, and that's a spoiler.
So,
Kathy, did you watch a movie or anything?
I've just been watching old episodes of Cadfile, which is a 1990s British TV show, because of course it is.
Of course it is.
What?
And?
Oh, well, I can talk about it.
Okay, of course. That's what the media section is for.
Probably should.
So, Derek Jacobi is a well-known British actor, and he plays Brother Cadfael, who is a friar at a medieval monastery during the time when King Stephen and Queen Maud are vying for power. And it's really very historical. It's based on a series of books, and by some, I think the author's name is Ellis Peters. Anyways, Brother Cadfael's main focus is herbology. That's his big thing. But in the past, before he made his vows, he went and fought in the Crusades when he was young, and had this whole life and experience. And now he is a monk, and he's very deductive. He's like this 1100s Sherlock Holmes kind of person. And so he teams up with the local sheriff of the county, and they solve crimes in medieval Britain. Because I like
Sounds
murder
pretty amusing.
mysteries. Yeah, it's interesting because there's a lot of historical stuff going on with it, so it makes it even more interesting. But yeah, I give it 0 space herpes because it's so freaking awesome, and it stands because it's a period series based in the 1100s. So, you know, and everything they do just tries to give it this sort of authentic flavor. So there's really not, it's not dated at all.
That's good. I love when something feels period, not dated. There's a certain window of things that feel dated because they're sort of in that vague thing. They evoke a period, but even doesn't look right for that. When I watched FX a couple, was it a month ago or whatever, that felt dated. It wasn't quite period. Something like Highlander feels dated, but then you watch some other things from the 80s, they feel like a period.
Mm-hmm.
It's very weird. It's very arbitrary, let's say.
So they did a really good job with, and Ellis Peters, I think, did a really good job with his research when he was writing the books, and he just carried that over into the series.
Oh, good. So you want me to go so you can rant?
No.
So I can get my rant out of the way. Just clear us? Okay.
No. I want you in the middle. This week I rewatched. I rewatched an old movie. I rewatched a movie called Odd Thomas. For anybody that has seen it before or don't know, Odd Thomas is based on a series of books about a guy that can see dead people, helps them solve, and he solves crimes and do other stuff. And the character's name is actually Odd. It's ODD. That's what his actual name is. And he has a girlfriend, and in this series, he sees the dead people. The dead people can't talk, but he helps solve, their murder. And it's actually pretty decent. I've seen it before. It's like my 3rd time watching it. I really liked, all the characters are really good. Everything flows real well. Everything feels natural. They don't feel out of place. And it's, spoilers, is an old show. The main character, Odd, sees these creatures, and I can't remember for the life of me the name of the creatures. And anytime they show up, they are coming there because there's a lot of death and destruction around. And he can't let those creatures know that he can see them, or they'll kill him. So a bunch of creatures start showing up and everything, and he has to solve the mystery. And it gets off a little slow, goes like a mystery type thing, and you got to figure out who's doing what and how they're doing it and everything. But it revolves around a mass shooting in a mall. And the creatures actually trick Odd Thomas, because they know that he can see them, and they trick him so he can't solve the case right away. Captain Mizzy does punch you in the feels at the very end, because he's trying to protect all the people he knows and his girlfriend and so on and so forth. And he, of course he saves the day and everybody's there, and he decides to take a bit of time off and hang out with his girlfriend and talk with her and hang out with her and do things with her while everybody's away. And you find out that at the end, she's actually dead, and he's been spending time with her ghost. You get caught in the feels, and you can see the character's, reaction, and he knows he has to let her go, and it's time to let her go and stuff. But, I already said spoilers. This is an old show. Sorry. This is old enough that spoilers aren't warranted. She says, I knew they were going to pull some shit. Of course they got to do. But he goes off to Las Vegas, I guess, to try to do this, and to do some more stuff. I actually kind of want to get into the books. I want to see what the books are like and see if they're better or worse, or you know, what happens after. Because I liked the whole thing. I thought it was really neat. I know a couple people have said the books are pretty good, so I'll probably do it. Um, a rating system. Um, I don't. I would say it would probably be maybe a 1, but it's not bad because it just gets a little slow in a few parts. But it's not like horrible slow. If you've already seen it, you're like, okay, I already know what's going on. So it's just there. So you're just kind of in with it. But I mean, William Defoe is really good in it. He's a great character in this one. He's pretty funny in it. There's not going to be any other shows because the main character is played, what was his name? Anton Yelchin, and of course he's passed away. So unless they reboot it or redo it or add something else. But I mean, I think what was this done? I'm looking it up. It was done in 2013. So, but I mean, it was really good. I enjoyed it. It's just a good, fun flick. So I'd give it like a 1, if anything. So, and for the people that are new, I know we got some new people in here that are listening. Our rating system is a little bit different. We go to 0 to 5. The more space herpes, the worse it is.
Yes, on a rating from Casablanca to Cats. Where does it rate?
So, all right, John, give us your rant because I know you even talked about in the pre-ramble and the pre-ramble. You mentioned this.
Yeah. So I wanted to watch a movie because I haven't watched anything all week. I've been slacking. So I'm poking through Netflix. I'm like, I'll watch that new, Chris Hemsworth one, Extraction. The right before that, I'm like, oh no, they have Angel Has Fallen for free. I can watch the final one in this series because Olympus has fallen, London has fallen. This is the next one. Boy, I done fucked up. I did because that is not a good movie.
No.
In addition to being like the worst of the trilogy, and it ain't even close. It's just terrible. Like, it is dark and choppy action scenes for a lot of them. It is, wow, the Secret Service are fucking incompetent. Like, the first two, you're like, okay, they seem a little not as competent as the bad guys, but it wasn't like those guys are fucking incompetent. You're going to tell me the Secret Service has no way to deal with drones. You're going to tell me that? Because I don't buy it. So as soon as you lose the slightest bit of suspension of disbelief in this movie, you're just picking it apart and you realize it's just not good. Like the first one, you're like, okay, this is a little odd, but okay, I can go with it. It follows their own internal sort of rules. The second one gets a little out there at points, but it still kind of follows its own rules. But this one's just like, fuck it, let's go! And we're like, nah, dog, I'm staying here, you go. Is it bad when the best parts of the movie are the villain, Morgan Freeman, and Nick Nolte? Because Morgan Freeman plays the president. He's Speaker of the House, now he's president, and he's being protected, of course, by Gerard Butler, who plays the main character, Mike Bann, who is the badass Secret Service guy, who apparently now is, suffering from, related stuff and on painkillers, and he's getting too old for this shit. And you can see that, and that's a fine thing to follow in a movie, but it really doesn't amount to anything other than let's have something interesting about his character that's not really interesting. Nick Nolte plays his father that he has to go visit after he's, framed for trying to kill the president, which is neither here nor there, doesn't barely make sense in the context of the movie. But okay. And Nick Nolte's fucking hilarious in it. He's putting his all into it. He's enjoyable for what he is. He is most of the good parts. He and Morgan Freeman are most of the good parts. And then Denny Houston plays the bad guy, and he's just a solid bad guy. He's a friend turned bad guy, and you just sort of enjoy it when he's there. He just does a good job on it, and he's a highlight of the movie. That's kind of sad, actually. Overall, like I said, choppy, dark action, lots of cuts. It's none of it. There's some scenes that are pretty solid, but there's nothing great. The subject matter isn't exactly brand spanking new or anything. It's pretty cliche at points. It's just not very good. I'd just fucking skipping it. If you have seen the first two, just skip it. Go watch one first or second one over again. As a matter of fact, if you want an alternate movie to watch, go watch Shooter. Shooter is a similar movie and just fucking better. It's more enjoyable. It's not as dark needlessly. It's just a better movie. Oh, and Legionnaires joked I was watching Robot Jocks is bad. Like, Robot Jocks is probably a better movie than this. Um, I'm gonna give it 3.5 space herpes. It's not quite into 4. It's not like it offended me, but I was in a mood anyways. Just in a weird mood all day. And when you start watching a movie and it's immediately disappointing, you get in more of a mood. So, I mean, fuck this movie. I'm glad they're not making any more of it. They probably shouldn't have made this. Jesus, let's just find. Every time we have something great that sets action movies ahead, like, oh, this is great action movies, then you have this shit that reminds everyone why people don't watch action movies because of this shit. Gonzo, go ahead and finish this out before
you
I
beat
talk shit
someone
about
up.
this movie some more.
I watched it's a series on HBO, and this is new, so I'm not going to spoil it, but just give you an idea of what it is. It's called We're Here. We're Here is a series on HBO about 3 drag queens that go around the United States to smaller towns to help champion for other LGBTQ people, and where they don't feel like they're welcome. And they go to some places that are like they go to Branson, Missouri, a lot of southern places and such, and they put on a drag show. Now they go and they find, and I'm sure everything's all set up way beforehand. Um, they go and they find somebody. They have somebody there that is having difficulties, or a family that's having difficulties, or a person that's having difficulties, and or they find people that are helping them out and want to just be part of the community, and they take people and put them in drag, and it's the people that are in there. There are 3 drag queens that are on RuPaul's show whenever it was up, and they formed this and they go out through there. There's only 6 episodes, and it's a really good show. They deal with a lot of stuff, talk to a lot of people. There's a lot of good pull at the heartstrings, talking to people. Because at one point they talked to a family and their sister committed suicide because she was gay. And so they talk about a lot of things. They go to different communities, and some people are like, yeah, I'll go to your show. And, they're like, no, y'all are crazy. Um, but the drag shows they put on, I mean, it's amazingly good. It's a great entertainment. It's a good pull at your heartstrings type story. It is very, very good. I think I cried every single episode at least once or twice in parts where it came up, because it was just, you could tell that they were doing it, and it wasn't just for the show. You could tell that they were doing it to make a point, and you felt bad for a lot of the people. You felt bad, but the shows that they put on were really, really good. It was really entertaining, especially watching some of the straight guys dress up in drag and try to dance in 4-inch heels and stomp around and do fun stuff like that. It was just really, really good. I highly recommend it. If it's not your thing, don't worry about it. It's not trying to push anybody in it, but it is a very good documentary. I feel that the series was cut kind of short because of COVID, because they actually went to a town near my original hometown. And they filmed this right around December and January type frame. So it was filmed really at the beginning of this year sometime. End of last year, beginning of this year. And I felt that the series may have got cut short because of it. The last episode is this week. So I hope they do another one, because it was really neat. Because they don't go to let's go to Las Vegas. No, you go to, they went to places where people could, that needed help or, other things like that. But there was some really funny shit and there were some really good drag shows. So, I mean, I highly recommend it. I like it. It gets 0 space herpes from me. I hope they do another season. I hope they're able to do another season because they drove everywhere to get to these small towns. And like I said, 2 of the small towns are actually near where I grew up. One of them is Branson, Missouri, which is right near me. And then one of them was in Louisiana, which was like 20 miles from my house. So, I mean, I knew exactly what was going on. I really liked it. Had a great time. It really pulls on the heartstring type thing. So, the last one, and I watched it today. I do have quite a few things on my queue right now to watch. I will be watching The Joker and giving a review on that. I know that a lot of us are like, we don't give a crap, but I'm going to definitely do it because I've got it on there and I got to see it. And a couple of other ones. I watched Stubber. Stubber is an episode. It's kind of like a buddy cop movie. Is the best way to put it. It's about a show where a police officer has LASIK surgery and can't see very well. And whenever he finds out that something is happening, he hires an Uber to drive him around to all his places he needs to go. It is done by everybody. I don't know how to say his last name, but it's Dave. It's the guy that plays what's his face in Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh my God, I'm totally stuck now.
Dave Bautista?
Yeah, he plays Drax. Yes. Yeah, I couldn't. I don't know. Didn't know how to say his last name without butchering it.
Yes.
But he plays the cop, and then there's a guy that drives an Uber around. And of course, the guy that drives the Uber around is like a wimp and can't stand up for himself. And Dave goes around, drives with him, and tries to turn him into a man. And I put quotes around that. Just came out, so I'm not going to spoil it. It's okay. It's not great. It's not a great movie. It's not even a good movie. It gets my 3.5. It gets my 2.5 rating. It's just a meh. There's a couple of scenes that are funny. There's too much shaky cam in a lot of the fights. And I'm just like, you're like, what's happening? You can't see it, and you can't control, and you can't go where it is. And it's just too hard to follow on some things. Everything is seen from a mile away. You know exactly where the plot's going, what's happening. There's no surprises whatsoever.
I mean, I'm surprised that that Karen Gillian and Mira Sorvino are in this movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a man movie. There's not much going on. There's you see where everything's gonna go eventually. Everything special effects. There's anything wrong with that. It's just kind of a one note movie. Buddy cop, where the buddy is not a cop but an Uber driver. And so it's just kind of there. There's just nothing made it stand out. Nothing made it worthwhile watching, if you know what I mean. It just kind of sat there.
It sounds like the average movie. Fair enough. The average action movie.
Yeah. I think one of the problems that was when I was watching it was I couldn't help but every time I heard him, I was waiting for him to say something with the Drax character in mind. And I was just like, it was hard to get that character and Drax separate because I'm used to that. And his voice comes with that. And it was just kind of I don't want to say a put off, but that's the best way to put it.
It might be one that's better for people who aren't having that sort of disconnect. I find there's a lot of movies that are probably better than I rate them for if you're in the right mood for them. But then again, I guess if you have to be in the right mood, are they really better?
Yeah, it was just I don't know. It was just okay. Wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either. That's what I'm saying. Gets the 2.5 space herpes. I know that there is. We got a little bit of time. I want to talk about some shows that I need to catch up on. I recently picked up Stars, and I've been trying to catch up on American Gods. I'm only about a few episodes in, and it's still good. Still liking it. Still a good series. I wish they would have brought back some old characters, that were in the first season. I don't know why they weren't in this one. So I'm looking forward to that. I did talk to somebody today and reminded me that I needed to catch up on Outlander. I don't know. Hopefully everybody knows what Outlander is. But it's a really good show that
Is
I
that a
like.
movie about aliens versus Vikings or
No.
something?
No.
Aliens versus Vikings, though. That
That's
sounds like fun.
there's the new miniature game coming out.
Wait, it's the Sean Connery movie in space, right?
But someone brought it up and it came into my mind. I'm like, oh, I need to catch up on the last 2 seasons of that. And so that's on Stars. Are you going to be start looking at it? You're going to look up?
I really don't know what it is.
You don't? Outlander is a TV show where a woman actually gets transported back in time.
Wait, hold on, Gonzo. A TV show that's on a channel I don't have and have no idea I'm ever going to get, and I don't know what it is, and you're surprised?
Well, I mean, it's actually
Really?
it's actually gotten some really good ratings and it's got a pretty good following.
And I still would know why?
Because you know
I have
everything.
a bunch of friends who are fans of that series.
Yeah. I haven't watched the last 2 seasons. I was like, oh, I need to put that on my queue to watch, and get that out of the way. What else? I think that was like I said, I have the Joker to watch. I don't know what else I have.
Oh, they announced they're gonna put out the Snyder cut of Justice League.
Oh, that was that was
only on HBO Max.
Yeah.
Luckily, it appears that I'm gonna have a way to get a login to HBO Max to watch that. So, hooray me!
Well, what's sad about the whole thing is everybody says the Snyder cut is like, oh my god, amazingly awesome, and I'm like,
No one says that. Who assume it's going to be that. No one's actually seen it, and I have a feeling, knowing Zack Snyder, it's not better. But I'm gonna watch it anyways because I'm a glutton for punishment. Yeah, Jim Caviezel. Yeah. Vikings versus Aliens. Outlander. 2008. It's a movie.
yeah, we saw. I actually saw that one a while ago, and I gave that 0. I think I gave that like 4 space herpes because it was that bad.
Oh. But Jim Caviezel.
But the TV show is actually really good. I know.
But yeah, so Snyder Cut will be coming. I'll watch it. I'll let you guys know what I think. I actually like Justice League. I think it's fine. I'm not expecting that to be better because I think Zack Snyder is a very flawed director. That's just sort of my opinion. I mean, not just my opinion. He makes good clip movies. Like you want to watch that clip, but you don't want to watch his whole movie again. You're like, I don't really need to watch this whole thing again. I think Justice League is probably his most rewatchable movie because even 300 is a bit rough to go through again. Now maybe Watchmen.
Yeah.
That's a little long.
Watchmen is long. You
But
only get
it's
so
pretty
much.
good. I mean, it was way better than I ever expected it to be. There you go. Sorry. That was my tangent on suddenly, now people are hoping for all the things they've been asking for. I mean, they got Clone Wars Season 7. They got the Snyder Cut of Justice League. Now we can get Solo too, right?
There's rumor of that coming out.
No, there's no rumors yet. The Twitter is active and asking for it, but that doesn't mean the rumors are coming out. But I am hopeful with the people who are currently making the Star Wars stuff. They're going to put some good stuff out.
Well, there was a
We'll
bit
see what they
of Mandalorian news this week, by the way. I don't know if anybody saw that. That Timothy Oliphant is
I
joining.
mean,
What, John?
yeah, sure. I mean, doesn't mean anything until we see it. I mean, that's like way past what we're looking at right now.
So I mean that
We
was
ain't filming nothing right now, so it's all pie in the sky.
That's pretty much about it for me. I don't know. Do you have anything else you need to rant on, John? Because we may just end this 4 minutes early.
Thanks.
So, Kathy, you got anything else? Guys, don't forget, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Kathy will be streaming live painting miniatures. You come in there and talk to her, hang out. She loves when people come in and bug her and distracts her from her painting, especially when you tell wonderful jokes. That is always the greatest thing. And she's an amazing painter to watch. Don't miss her. I'm crossing my fingers that our Midgard campaign is back on this week. And I have a special project that I'm going to be working on tomorrow. And to see if I can get that working. And we'll be streaming some stuff from that. But that'll just be something I got to figure out and see if it'll work. So, other than that, we're going to go ahead and cut it early tonight. For More Than Dice, I'm Gonzo.
John.
I'm Kathy.
Good night, people. Take care of yourself.
Night.
Good night.
No good night. No good night.
Watch a good movie.
You're going to watch a good movie?
Movies.
You're going to continue to watch shitty movies?